So, 1240. Real quick, attention on either the board behind me or on your screen share. There's a new one that came out and it should be live. You should be able to see it. People have been asking people have been working ahead already on step number 3. This tool that I want to show you is provided by King County, meaning they have more connections to their bus fleet, right? Because you can track the buses with a couple different apps, you can track the light rails and the ferries, right? All of these different transit options, because it's important that you get to these on time, since you're not the one driving. A tool like this trip planner can help you figure out how the best way to get somewhere is. Now, before I show you how to use it, which a lot of you have already figured out, I want to go over these extra little spots on number 3 right here. The KC Metro Trip Planner, this guy right here, has a hard time with multiple stops. So if you're trying to do multiple things, if you're trying to go from Skyline to the U Village and then to like Chipotle and then to like a park and then back to Skyline, it's going to have a really hard time doing that. Because it's very much give you everything you need to know as best it can from one stop, point A, to another stop, point B. So a solution, a workaround, like I mentioned in this class, there's a lot of troubleshooting. Things aren't going to work perfectly, but they are going to work from the start, is you might need to have multiple tabs. So I'm going to grab a couple of these, and they're all going to be the same. They're all going to ask me for my location, and I can't turn it on. So let's go here, get rid of the pop-up. There we go. Okay, so let's say from point A, Skyline, to point B, QFC, that's going to be where I'm starting with one of these by typing in those locations. What I want you to remember, real quick, listen to me real fast. What I want you to remember is the bus is not a taxi, right? It does not pick you up exactly where you are and take you exactly to where you go. You want to get as close as you can to the start and to the stop, okay? So, that's a thing I'll introduce a little bit later with some more physical citizenship. But the bus is not perfect. It'll take you very close to where you need to go, but knowing how to get in between is the skill that I'm wanting to teach you and that I want you to practice. So for example, let's say point A, my starting point, is Skyline, and point B is QFC. And then I want to go from QFC to like, I don't know, somewhere in the Gilman Village, all right? Let's say we'll go to a different QFC. So point A is Skyline. This is one way that you can have multiple locations. We'll go Skyline High School. And then we'll go to the closest QFC. We type it in the destination spot. This should be the one on, what's it called? It's like the Pine Lake, right? I think it's the 228th one. Okay, so this is going to generate me an itinerary. If you look where it says itinerary right here, that's a fancy word for to-do list. When you plan a trip, when you go somewhere and you want to see a lot of things, you make an itinerary, much like a to-do list, right? So this is telling me to take bus number 269 from point A, Skyline, down to point B, QFC. And see what I mean when it says the bus is not going to take you directly to the front door? It will take you nearby, right? Nearby your location. So that's point A to point B. Let's go from point B to point C, just for example's sake. So we'll go QFC 228th, and then we'll go to QFC down in Gilman. This is the only Gilman. Take me to Gilman Boulevard. Okay, so what I have here, this may be something you've heard of. This is called a daisy chain. Okay, daisy chaining happens a lot in a lot of different spaces. But it's when you take one thing that completes and another thing that completes in order to get point A to point C, okay? And by taking these two separate tabs, I now know exactly how to get from Skyline to the Gilman Village QFC because I took number 2, daisy-chained it to number 1, and now I have a full itinerary, okay? Now, why does that matter? Why do you care that you know how to do this? Why do you care how to use this tool? Because the next step in this assignment is to plan a route from your home or from Skyline to at least 3 spots on your list. And I want you to pay attention to the extra ones down here. You may need to use multiple tabs. I just showed you because the tool has a hard time with multiple stops. You can start wherever you want. I just suggest your home or from Skyline because that's going to give you an actual transit trip you could actually reasonably take. And they do not need to connect to each other. So you don't have to make a list of all your 3 stops to connect to one another. Like if you wanted to go to Remlinger Farms in Carnation and then West Seattle, that's going to be a lot of busing. Okay? What I want you to do is practice using this tool to find these bus routes for things you actually care about and actually want to go to. How do you submit this assignment? Great question. I hear you all asking. Bless you. What you want to do is you take your itineraries from the King County Metro Trip Planner, take a screenshot. Anybody know how to take a screenshot? Windows Shift S? Yeah? Okay. So if I hold Windows Shift S, that's going to pop up my screenshot tool. In your screenshot, you do not need the entire screen. You just need the start point, the stop point, and the map, like this. So a little screenshot like this would be perfect. Okay? And that's just copied to my clipboard. What I want you to do with that screenshot is put it in some type of document, like a PowerPoint, like a Word document, like a Google Doc, explaining to me, let me zoom in. Sorry, I'm in dark mode. Control V, it'll paste it in there, explaining why you chose these stops. Okay? And once you've collected your 3 KC Metro transit itineraries, you submit that for PCA1. Is that clear? Does that make sense? All right. I'll give you a little bit more time for this one. Before I do that, are there any questions? Let me see on thumbs, upside or down. How are you feeling about this part? You got a question, Landon?
Yeah. Do you want us to submit like the 5 or 10 places we chose? Or?
Keep those. I just want the top 3. So collect your top 3 into some type of presentation or document and submit the document. Okay? I'm going to give you till 1 for this, a little bit longer, 13 minutes. You just need to pick 3 from your list of 10, find an itinerary, tell me why you've chosen those spots, and then upload that to PCA1. Okay? Good luck. I'm going to close the screen share. I got 1 more at 1 o'clock because I want to start showing you how to turn this into HTML. Okay? Nicely done, everybody. You guys are doing great. Keep it up. Yes, so if you go to the P4 punch passes drawer and look for your punch pass, I will trade you for a pass. You might have to rummage around a little bit. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. You too. Appreciate it. Bye, Ryan. The basics of HTML on how you could take the work you've just done, completing PCA1, and translating it into DCA2. Okay, which if we look at our agenda on Wednesday, you can see that we have some basic HTML intro to do real quick with this idea of tags. Now what I want you to be thinking about while I show you tags is stick with that idea of these pieces are Legos. These are ingredients for recipes. Your computer is a very, very literal creature. It cannot make guesses very well. Okay? You need to tell your computer exactly what it needs to know, which is what HTML can provide. And we're going to start pretty slow because I want you to not get overwhelmed by how much coding stuff there is out on the world. But I want to show you a very basic way to start taking the ingredients you've prepared and start turning them into something digital on a web page. So for example, you have images in your document. You have different types of documents, whether it's a Google Doc, a Word docx file, if it's a PDF, right? You have different things that you're managing, as well as different types of text. These are the 2 main ingredients for web pages that I want to show you how to use today on a site called vscode.dev. So if we look at the digital assignments, HTML code copying and pasting, I do not expect you to memorize every single ingredient for websites. Just like you don't memorize every single ingredient that you cook with, you know what they could do, and you want to try different ways of using them. Okay? The methods you'll be using for this second part is going to be referencing. I want to teach you how to find the answer, not to remember the answer. Right? It helps to remember it, but it's easier to find it sometimes. Collaborating with each other and with different producers of different tools, and like it says here, using online-based stuff that might not work perfectly, but works pretty well for what we're doing. Okay? We want to look right here at resources number 3 and number 4. We're going to start with resources number 3, DC A2. You're going to take your work from A1 and create a basic HTML web page. I will show you how to do this, and the video will be accessible once I get it uploaded. I usually do it in Flex. Something I want to show you, if you look at instruction number 2, there's this site called W3 Schools. All right? This kind of serves as our textbook, W3 Schools does. And I've linked specifically the HTML tutorial because it has a huge amount of chapters and a huge amount of details on the different types of Lego pieces that are available, on the different types of HTML Lego ingredients that you can use to make your website. Okay? The cool part about W3 Schools, just like CodePen, is if you scroll down just a little bit, it's got a lot of learning by examples, as you can see right here. And then there is usually, depending on the theme of your website, some type of green try it yourself button, which when you click that try it yourself, you're going to start to see the code on the left, the input, this is what we'll be writing in web design, the code on the left in basic HTML, and then the output on the right. What do you notice about the two on the right? Is there a difference between those types of text? Yes or no? Or true or false? Yeah. One of them is quite a bit bigger. One of them is bold. The other one's a little bit smaller, a little bit more standard. They do have the same font, but they have different font size. Okay? Can anybody, looking at the inputs, guess why that might be? Yeah, Jig Drop. Yep. And then it says P underneath for paragraph. That's exactly right. Let me zoom in so you can see that a little bit better. Hopefully it makes it bigger. It does. Cool. These things right here, these are our HTML ingredients. These are our HTML Lego pieces. These are called tags. Okay? And tags have 3 very important parts. 2 of those parts are twins at the start and stop of everything. And then something lives in the middle that creates the stuff on the page. If we look at H1 right here, you see where it says this is a heading? That's in the input. Where else does it say this is a heading? On the other side. What's the other side called? Output. If it's not the input, it's the output. Okay? The part where it says this is a heading, the part that I'm highlighting right here on my screen, you can't see it super well on the projector, but you can see it better on the screen share. This is called the content. Okay? Now, if we stick with these things as ingredients, if we stick with this idea of pieces coming together, your content are like what you put inside of a sandwich. Okay? This is your veggies, this is your proteins, these are your dressings, these are your etc. stuff that goes in between the sandwich. But we don't have a sandwich without a very important ingredient on the top and bottom, don't we? Okay? So if the content is the inside of the sandwich, the outside of the sandwich are called start and stop tags. You see I'm highlighting the start tag right here on the H1. It's right where at the beginning of the sentence, right at the start. And then this is your end tag, right at the end. Okay? Start and end. Okay? What do you notice about the start and the end tags that I'm highlighting? Are they the same or are they different? They're the same, right? Hi. Generally speaking, they're the same. Almost every single HTML tag, almost every single HTML sandwich right here is going to have a start and a stop tag, or an end tag, excuse me, start and an end tag, and they're always going to be the same. Okay? They're always going to be twins, right? You see the H1 twins. However, something is different about the end tag. What do you notice differently about the end tag? It's got a slash through it, because you're slashing the end of your sentence. You're putting a period right in it. Okay? Start tags and end tags are almost always exactly the same. Some of them don't have end tags. Some of them, those are called void tags. We'll get to that a little bit later. But they always are the same on the inside of these alligator mouths, right? Your shift comma, your shift period, your less than, your greater than, all different types of ways that I'll refer to them throughout the semester. Okay. Mr. Blakeney, I hear you saying this is great and all, but how do I start using these? Let me show you. I'm glad you asked. If you go to Digital Citizenship number 3 and look at VSCode.dev, I can show you how to start creating an HTML file. Mine is going to be far more zoomed in than yours is because I zoomed it in the other period. So let me actually get it back to where what yours looks like. Yours is going to start like this. You probably also see this stuff on the side. Oh, this is from my last example, so let's just get rid of this. Let me refresh the page. You should have a welcome page, but mine is not appearing. One sec. Okay, so what we're going to do is create a new file. Okay, so mine's a little bit different, and I apologize. I expected it to be the same. You should see a prompt on line number 1 that says select a language in blue. If you do not see select a language, you can click start new file, and that will get you to the select a language screen. Okay? If yours looks like mine, you can go to file, new text file. If yours looks like Landon's, or if you want to, okay, click new file. Okay, you can click new file. There's a click select the language. You're in it. So you got to click new file first. Okay? And then Violet, click new file right underneath start. And then click text file. Sorry, click text file. My bad. That's what that said. Okay. So we're on VS Code now. Get there. Get there. Here. That's 70%. So, and then from here, start new file. Text file. And then we'll get Okay, cool. Sorry, the video's going to go a little long. Okay, so go to click the lines, click file, new text file, and then click select. Okay, so real quick. This is another good example. Let me get your attention on my screen or on me. One of the two, please. This is another good example of sometimes these tools work inconsistently. So there will be, while HTML is formulaic in the way that it happens the same way every time, the tools might work differently, right? If you've ever modded a video game before, you know how sometimes the mods don't work well with each other. It's very similar because they all come out of computers, right? Okay? Now that we're all generally seeing some type of text file, or we're seeing this bar that you can see, new file, it says text file, we're going to click on that, and we should all now see the blue select a language. Is anybody not seeing blue select a language? Okay, no hands, which is good. To select your language, which are in alphabetical order, you're going to see there's a ton. Right? We are not going to learn every single one of these languages because you don't need to know every single one of these languages. Not for web design, at least. What we're going to do, because they're in alphabetical order, is scroll past the B's, the C's, until we hit the H's, and you see HTML in orange that has those little alligator mouths, right? It's got the brackets, little bracket guys. We're going to click that, and not much is going to change because we haven't written any code yet. All right? This is something that we'll also be doing in a bigger VS Code app. This is just a small version. It's kind of like a trial version. This is called an IDE, Integrated Development Environment, which is a fancy way of saying coder. So when I talk about a coder, I'm talking about an app like VS Code. All right? So let me zoom in now that we are about on the same page. This one we might need to finish up tomorrow too, but I want to show you the basics of HTML. Okay. All HTML documents start with the HTML tag. All right? Remember, your computer is very, very literal. Your computer can make no guesses. You've got to tell it exactly how to build things in order for it to build it correctly. Much like the set of instructions in your Lego set, much like the recipe or the cookbook that has all the ingredients. Okay? So the first tag in an HTML document is just the letters HTML. But if I type I typed it wrong. HTML. Now if I type out HTML, you're going to start seeing a couple of suggestions pop up. And if I hit enter, it's very important that if you hit enter, it will automatically turn them into a tag. The frustrating part is if I click on it, it does that too. But sometimes it doesn't. See, sometimes it's a little bit inconsistent. But how can I tell that this tag is functional? What are some things that you could look for? Blue is true, right? That's the integrated part. What about are they twins? Yeah, they're both the same. And is one of them a start and is one of them an end? How can you tell which one's the end? It's got the slash. Is the slash at the front of the letters or the back of the letters? The front, exactly. So then you can hit enter, and this becomes our computer going, got it. HTML document. I can work with that. Okay? Yeah, Selena, then Jigtrail.
Why do you need two?
That's just the way HTML works. It's a very old and a very original web design language. It's on version 5 now. The computer needs to know when to start reading and when to stop reading. That's why there's start and stop tags. Jigtrail? Not today, but you will later. Okay, so what I want you to do, probably what we'll do with the rest of today, because we can't get those sites to actually run off this page. I want you to go look at step number 2 from W3 Schools, the same way you made a list of 5 to 10 locations to check out on your transit journey. I want you to find 5 to 10 HTML tags that you want to try. Okay, so if you go to W3 Schools and you stick in the top right here next to the home with stuff like basics or stuff like elements, right, you can start to see how these different elements start to work together. It also will tell you step by step, like a recipe, like never skip the end tag, for example. Let's go HTML basic here. So we have HTML headings, HTML paragraphs, HTML links, HTML images. This is something we'll work on Thursday, getting your work that you did for PCA1 and putting it onto DCA2. Okay. If we look at elements, this was something that I wanted to bring up with the sandwich. So let me get you real quick. When I was talking about the sandwich, I was talking about the content being the part in the middle, the vegetables, the proteins, the sauces, etc. That goes in the middle. That's content. And then your start tags and your end tags, I mixed up start and stop, excuse me. They're called start and end. Your start and your end tags are the bread. Those three things combined create an element. Just like an element in chemistry, when you mix multiple pieces together, you get new elements. When you mix multiple tags and different types of content together, you also get new elements, just like chemistry. Okay? So this is your sandwich that I want you to remember. You always need a start slice of bread with a start tag. You need some type of stuff to go on your sandwich. Otherwise, you're just having a bread sandwich, which doesn't taste like anything. You need some stuff inside your sandwich, and then you need a end tag right at the end. Close off a delicious sandwich. Okay? So what I want you to do for probably the rest of the period, about 10 minutes, just create a list of 5 to 10 HTML tags to try out. You can post those in the Canvas box, and then we'll turn this into working code on Thursday. Okay? For now, we're just making a list, collecting our materials, much like in a science lab, right? Collecting the pieces together so that when we do the actual execution of our task, doing of the job, you'll have some stuff already ready to go. Save yourself a little bit of time. Okay? So 5 to 10 HTML tags, 5 to 10 HTML elements that you want to try out. That's what you'll do for DCA2. We'll do our exit task, and that will be our block day. Sorry, I ran out of time a little bit. I thought we would get some more coding today. That's my bad. Does that make sense, though? What I'm asking you to do for this first part?
Yeah.
Cool. If you'd like to submit it, here, this is really important. This is the last thing I'll say before I let you get to work. If you'd like to submit it, just your list of DCA2, that is totally fine. That's a safe place to save your list of up to 10 tags. By Friday, we'll have converted it into code. You make a second attempt, and I'll grade the second attempt. We'll just keep the first attempt kind of as a save. All right? So, collect your tags. Collect my pages. All right? Collect your tags. Put them in the assignment, and then we'll turn them into working code tomorrow. So we can have access to this later. A public transit itinerary. Okay? Now, if you look on your Canvas agenda, You'll see that signing up for an Orca card is crossed out for now. We will do that a little bit later because all of y'all do not need an Orca card until you turn 19. So you don't have to pay for KC Metro Transit until you are past 19 years old. I'll teach you how to do that a little bit later, so once you know, should you stick around here after you complete high school, you have access to that type of resource. But for now, what's more important, something that you can do right now, is understanding how to plan and understanding how to follow through on a plan, because that's a skill that's going to make you a better physical citizen, a better offline citizen, right? And it will assist in everything we do in web design, as well as your other courses, because it helps prepare you for different tasks, right? So that's what we're going to be focusing on for this first part of the live lesson right here, is this KC Metro, King County Metro trip planner. Okay? And we'll come back to digital citizenship a little bit later after you've gotten started. Okay? What are your outcomes for today? By the end of the period, I'll show you how to make a basic web page, and web page is in quotes because it's not all the way on the internet. It's just code for what could go on the internet. So it's not quite hosted yet. We'll do hosting a little bit later in the semester. You'll be able to create a travel plan without a car. It's very important to know how to get around in case your car is ever in the shop, if you're a car owner, in case you are not in a state where you're able to drive, should you make that choice when you are of age, right? It's good to know how to get around without relying on your car, okay? Maybe your car breaks down, whatever. It also helps today, we'll be combining multiple aspects, multiple different skill sets related to planning, related to online tools, related to different ways of doing things, combining all those into one end goal of participating in a community. Okay? So your assignments, we're going to start with the physical one. You'll be doing a little bit of typing, you'll do a little bit of, I call it reporting, because you're just making a list of some things, of some kind of like a data pool, or like if you're on Quizlet, you're making all of your flashcards all in one big pool, and then you select a handful of them that you'll use dependent on whatever you need. And then the end turn-in is either a PowerPoint or a Canva presentation or some kind of document that collects this first part of PCA1. So let's talk about what PCA1 actually is. I saw some of y'all looking ahead to it. Thank you very much for doing that. This is PCA1. You are creating a transit itinerary. Okay? So first things first, physical citizenship, assignment number 1. I want you to use a tool like Yelp or like Google Maps, or you could also, if you're an outdoorsy type person, there is the Washington Trails Association. There's also stuff like All Trails for a little bit more universal. There's many things related to, like Do 206 is another cool one that shows live events and different types of happenings. Use a tool that shows you stuff that's happening in the world, and find activities or points of interest in the Sammamish or surrounding area. The surrounding area part is important because the KC Metro serves a pretty wide range. So if we look at King County, if I could spell it right, King County is pretty large, all right? It's this whole range right here, all the way up from Shoreline, all the way around to the very northeastern corners, down across the mountains, down to Enumclaw, and right on the border of Tacoma. So King County Metro serves this very wide range, but most of it is going to be around here in our Sammamish, Bellevue, etc. area, right? The plateau. What I want you to do is, using a tool like Yelp or Google Maps, find some cool stuff that you are interested in, and then create a list of 5 to 10 things that interest you. Stuff like hikes, stuff like music festivals, or like farmers markets, stuff like, I know Comic-Con is coming up, so maybe there's something in Seattle, a specific event, a specific activity that you wanted to check out. You want to start this assignment by making a list of 5 to 10 things that interest you. And that's where I'll leave you for about 10 minutes or so you can make this list. We'll talk about steps 3 and 4 a little bit later, but in order to do steps 3 and 4, you need step 2. Okay? Does that make sense? Show me on your thumbs where you're at with steps 1 and 2 on PCA1. Okay? Cool. Find points of interest. Make a list of 5 to 10 of them. This can be on a Google Doc, a Word doc. You can handwrite it on paper if you'd prefer that. Find 5 to 10 things in the KC metro area, in the King County area, that are interesting. Okay? And at 12:36, we'll start moving on to the next steps of this first assignment. Okay, good luck. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends. Come up with something cool, 5 to 10 things, and then we'll move on to step 3.